about repetition of hate speech, especially about creating the necessary context for grievance to be expressed against stereotyping, which is very, very common, and again linking it to what Commissioner Omar was talking about, the war with Al-Shabaab, and how that sometimes has ended up creating stereotypes and problems around that, and the need for conflict-sensitive reporting.
And I am in very unfamiliar territory. First, because I'm talking from the perspective of the media, which has been portrayed as having had some failings. Yeah, it is true that we have failed, but let me point out that there are some challenges when it comes to reporting some of these human rights violations. Why? Because the violators, or those people who hold legitimate access to violence, are trying their level best to make sure that the truth does not come out. And that is why you are having some of these issues of journalists being embedded, because they have no other way of getting the truth. But that does not mean that the journalists or the media in Kenya has failed to expose some of these violations. Because from my personal perspective, or from my personal experience, I remember there were, in 2000, I think it was in 2001, there were some deaths in prison in Kimongo where the security apparatus wanted the country and the world to believe that those people have died from a hate. But further interrogation of the matter actually proved that they had been killed. The matter was investigated vigorously by the media and led to the arrest and the prosecution of all those involved. And the suspects or the warders were sentenced to death. So that shows that much as the media has some failings, it has also exposed some of these violations, which at times are very hidden. The security apparatus are determined to make sure that the truth does not come out. We also must appreciate that the journalist is always fighting the pressure. Pressure because, especially when it comes to human rights violation, pressure because you have a deadline to meet, and at the same time, the truth is not very transparent, and sometimes you have to persuade the editor that the story you want to expose, the violations you think has taken place, deserve the space as opposed to other stories which may sell. So, and at the same time, it takes a lot of time to investigate these violations. Time which the editor or the organization may not have. And I also want to argue that much as sometimes the media may go out of its way in exposing these violations, there comes a time when even the victims ask, so what? I remember there was a time I went to interview an old man from the Tarai community, whose community had been disinherited by the colonial government, by the colonial government in the 1820s. So I met this 80-year-old man. I want a story. He asked. This story has been told so many times by the press, and we are where we are, despite the story being published and aired for so many years. So he asked, what do you think we are going to gain as a community? That is a very tough question. You want somebody to expose himself, open his soul to you, to write a story, and something that when we write these stories, we benefit personally. So some may even demand some payment before they share their story with you. Once the story is published and the media does not have the power maybe to deal with this, with the perpetrators of the violations, you feel helpless. Like if somebody comes with a story that their rights have been violated. Some people have died because of some very powerful forces, and says that this is the story, which sounds very easy. You have got all the facts, you can counter-check at it, but there is an injunction. Don't write this story if you know that this perpetrator will not be around. Now, I ask you, how can the media make sure, for example, that those people whose violations, those people who have perpetrated these violations actually get to face justice? We are always writing about the IDPs. We expose their plight. Their rights have been violated. But beyond writing, what else can the media do? I rest my case.
Thank you.